Welcome back to the Gore Guide, where we're on a journey to compile the definitive list of gore and splatter films. Today we're taking a look at Planet Terror, a film with some of the worst cases of acne ever seen. Planet Terror is a 2007 film written and directed by Robert Rodriguez, starring Rose McGowan, Freddy Rodriguez, and Josh Brolin. This was originally released as a double feature along with Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof under the title Grindhouse. They're bookended by fake adverts and great trailers for non-existent films from directors Rob Zombie, Edgar Wright, Eli Roth, and Robert Rodriguez himself, who did a trailer for Machete, which did actually get made into a film with Danny Trejo. The only other trailer that actually went on to become a feature-length film was Hobo with a Shotgun. It got included after winning a competition, and while it's the worst looking trailer out of all of them, the film that it actually got made into was brilliant. Grindhouse, specifically Planet Terror, because that's what we're looking at here, is a throwback to the exploitation films of the 70s and a showcase for the director's love of the films from that era. This style and approach has been used countless times since with mixed results. But is this just a novelty film and a case of style over substance? Well, let's take a look and find out. The sale of a biochemical weapon called DC-2, codenamed Planet Terror, goes terribly wrong, causing the deadly gas to be released into the atmosphere, turning everyone that comes in contact with it into mutated flesh-eating zombies. Cherry Darling, who just quit her go-go dancing job to become a stand-up comedian, has an unfortunate run-in with some of the infected and loses her leg. When she comes to in the hospital, the ever-increasing number of zombies are taking over the building, but her mysterious ex-boyfriend, El Rey, rescues her. They narrowly escape with their lives to the temporary safety of a nearby restaurant called the Bone Shack. Now a ragtag group of survivors who seem to be immune to the effects of DC-2 must try and escape the small town, while battling the bloodthirsty zombie hordes and the demented, infected military group that will do anything for a cure. Let's start off with the standout feature of the movie, the grindhouse look. Robert Rodriguez is just old enough to remember films actually looking like this, but for anybody that isn't, it's just a fad and a trend. I'm sure the filmmakers that Rodriguez was trying to emulate didn't actually want their films to look the way that they did. It was just a product of the limited budget and technology that was available to them. So to produce this look nowadays, when most of those limitations have been removed, is all about nostalgia. Many filmmakers have been influenced by the Grindhouse double bill and tried to copy the look, but let's be honest, most of the films that attempt this stylized approach have come nowhere close to the quality of Planet Terror. Rodriguez nails the appearance and atmosphere of these films completely. It looks and feels natural, and it's one of the best examples of modern day grindhouse, if that is actually a thing. The music is great as well. Rodriguez apparently wanted John Carpenter to do the score, but he ended up doing it himself. Carpenter has been a major influence on Rodriguez's films, Planet Terror in particular, and the music that he produced is very reminiscent of that of the esteemed director, although the saxophone is a bit much sometimes. There are some CGI effects to help with the really over-the-top scenes, but for the most part, the effects are practical and brilliant. A lot of the film is done for shock and awe, and there are a couple of very unexpected moments that are likely to leave your jaw hanging. There are some really gross shots involving blisters and pus and some very bloody gunshot wounds. The action is very exaggerated and the gore is fantastic. There's a scene towards the end where they use a helicopter's blades to chop up a group of zombies, which is very reminiscent of a scene from 28 Weeks Later, which was a zombie film released 6 months earlier. The cast is superb. It's a good mixture of Rodriguez's regulars, some semi-recognizable faces for the time,
I also want your balls,
and some underappreciated big names just waiting for their next big chance. Oh, and Bruce Willis.
Where's the shit?
A lot of the old exploitation films would spend most of their budget on a big name star, but they would only film them for one day and they wouldn't really do anything of any importance. This is basically Bruce's role in this film. The rest of the actors do a fantastic job and are all really well cast. Josh Brolin is the main standout for me, personally. He's great in everything that he's in, but he brings an undeniable intensity to his character here. Rodriguez's leads are always cool, and Rose McGowan as Cherry and Freddie Rodriguez as El Rey are another great example of this. They're both badasses, and you get a real sense of connection between their characters.
I do believe in you. Always have.
And seeing tough guy El Rey riding a mini motorbike is hilarious. So while the grindhouse look is carried out successfully in Planet Terror, there are a couple of moments when it just gets a bit too much. There's a scene where there's a missing reel of footage, and then when the film starts back up again, we find out we've missed a major plot development. The first time I saw this film, it annoyed me so much. I can kind of accept it now because I've seen the film so many times, but I can still remember that initial feeling. There are a couple of things that ruin the grindhouse feel. One of them is a use of modern day references. In general, the film gives off an impression of being from the 70s, but there is a reference to the Iraq War that could and should have been about Vietnam. The CGI is a bit unnecessary as well. I realised that some of the stunts and action wouldn't have been able to be performed without it, and that the film itself is over the top, but sometimes the CGI is just a bit jarring. The same can be said about most of the dialogue. It's just a bit too hip and unnatural. People just don't talk like that.
See this?
What's that?
Shit-eating grin.
You ought to be a comedian.
It's one of my biggest frustrations about Tarantino's films, and sometimes Rodriguez can be guilty of it too. While we're talking about Tarantino, I hated his character. I know we're supposed to because he tried to rape somebody, but have you ever noticed that he always plays the same kind of character? Every time I see him on screen, I know he's going to be sleazy and probably try to sexually assault someone. And knowing his connection with the Weinsteins, it's just a bit uncomfortable and leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
I'm gonna go get my dick wet.
She's got one leg.
Easier access.
What makes this worse is this scene was filmed after Rose McGowan confided in Robert Rodriguez about being raped by Harvey Weinstein. And then to add insult to injury, he then went on to sell Planet Terror to Dimension Films, which is owned by Weinsteins. And I think we can agree this is disgusting behavior from this director. The next couple of points are minor grievances, but they still bug me, so I'm going to put them in anyway. The dog shouldn't have died, and how the hell does she fire that gun leg? My personal favourite kill is, of course, when Tarantino gets his comeuppance for being a sleazy piece of shit.
Dance for me, motherfucker.
Open that door, will you, baby?
Planet Terror is totally over the top in every aspect, especially the blood and gore. It's a gooey, gory, splattery mess, and it's all the better for it, with some scenes that will gross out even those with the strongest stomach. So it gets 5 out of 5 for amount of blood, and 4.5 out of 5 for quality of effects. There are some very problematic circumstances around this film, and I am by no means discounting what Rose McGowan went through, but this is my review and opinion of the art and not the artist. So that being said, out of the Grindhouse double bill, Planet Terror is by far the better film, but that really doesn't do the film enough justice. It's action-packed, well acted, and has some great over-the-top practical effects. There are a couple of minor grievances, but they don't stop the film from being constantly entertaining. It's just so much fun. I know Robert Rodriguez is more famous for his Spy Kids movies, Dusk Till Dawn, and of course Sin City, but this is my favourite of his by a long stretch. It's a perfect film to just switch the brain off, kick back, and enjoy, so Planet Terror gets 4.5 out of 5. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on Planet Terror, or if you have any requests for future videos. There's a link in the description for anybody that wants to purchase a copy of the film for themselves. Join me next time when we'll be returning to the Wrong Turn franchise and taking a look at Wrong Turn 4. There's a link to the trailer below, along with a link to my list of films on Letterboxd. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click on the bell to keep up to date with new content. Thanks for watching, and until next video, have a bloody good time.